Be for Hodier African family. Welcome to another edition of the African Liberation Media Show. I'm your co-host, Brother Amos, here with my esteemed elder Baba Makaru. How you doing tonight, Baba Makaru?
Hotel, good brother, be before the A. Every day is a blessing. Every day is a blessing.
So everybody is aware of the biggest news in the American media today, which is the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We are just now doing a video on this, and that was somewhat intentional because a lot of people rushed to a lot of conclusions and made a lot of statements off of fragmented information and really didn't allow all of the details to come out. And many of those statements didn't age well. So tonight we'll be discussing our viewpoints and thoughts on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. But before we go into that topic tonight, Baba Makaru wanted to share something with our listeners.
Be before the A, Asante Sana, brother. Yes, I wrote an article this week in the local Black-owned newspaper. I wrote it on July the 15th under my Habari Ghani articles. And the subtitle is Political Violence Strikes Again in America. I received a text from a friend around 7 p.m. on Saturday, which said Trump got shot. Immediately, I wondered how bad was it and who did it. When I turned on the television, I saw a bloodied Donald Trump being hurried off stage by the Secret Service as reporters were saying he suffered a graze wound to his right ear. I thought to myself, the United States has dodged Fort Sumter 2.0, at least for the time being. Given the political climate in this country, I was not at all surprised that someone had attempted to assassinate the former president and 2024 Republican candidate. Fear-mongering and inflammatory rhetoric have been coming from both sides of the two-party system since before Donald Trump was elected in 2016. In last week's edition of Habari Ghani, I quoted the president of the Heritage Foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts, who said regarding Project 2025, which is getting a whole lot of attention right now, we are in the process of a second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. So that was Kevin Roberts' statement just a few days, or maybe a week before the incident in Pennsylvania. I doubt that the would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, a 20-year-old nursing home worker, registered Republican who once donated to a Democratic cause, is the type of leftist Dr. Roberts had in mind. Now, I'm going to say straight up, no one knows exactly, what Crooks' political affiliations, political ideology, manifesto, anything is, because this guy has apparently left no social media or media footprint at all. Not even the NSA can find anything, at least so far as they're telling us. The series of shots by Crooks from an assault rifle missed a potentially fatal shot to Trump by fractions of an inch. One person in the audience was killed and two others were wounded. And let me just say one thing about that point there. I haven't seen any ballistics reports or forensic reports that said all of the bullets matched the AR assault rifle that Crooks supposedly fired from. So this will be a critical piece of information, the forensics and the ballistics, to see if all of the bullets recovered so far came from the same weapon. How Crooks managed to get to a high position within sniper range of Trump will probably be investigated more thoroughly than the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. I say more thoroughly because the Warren Commission investigation into the JFK assassination was a sham, in my opinion. We don't need to go into that. That's just a matter of my opinion. I'm saying that largely because the Republicans control the House of Representatives. They have a lot of investigative powers. They obviously do not trust the FBI or who's in charge of the investigation. So they'll be doing their own investigations. We didn't have a thorough investigation into the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And coincidentally, now, I bet Donald Trump wishes he had released all of the information when he was president. He withheld the information that was supposed to be released in 2016. I mean, in 20, what was it? 2017, he was supposed to release information and didn't do it. I bet you he wishes he had done it now. The Courier Journal reported, although no possible motive has yet been released, Crooks nevertheless embodies the achingly familiar profile of an American mass shooter. A young white man isolated from peers and armed with a high-powered rifle. His attack was one of at least 59 shootings in the United States on Saturday, according to the Gun Violence Archive. The second reason why I was not surprised is because the American empire is constructed on a foundation of violence, as an article in Time noted. Now, this is a quote from the Time article. American society was formed from violence, and it has remained violent ever since. From the settlement to independence to nationhood, the United States has required force to build its institutions. Americans have always owned guns and used them to project strength and vigor. Think of the gunslinging cowboy or the gun-carrying lawman immortalized in Hollywood. And guns have been central to our politics, including the settlement of native people's lands across the United States, the importation of slavery, a civil war, and the rise of America as a global power. Guns have influenced the politics of every era, from the death of Alexander Hamilton. A lot of people thought Alexander Hamilton might become a president of the United States. To the assassinations of Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King, among other figures. The attempted assassination of former President Trump on July 3rd was part of this long history. Understanding this can help us make sense of this horrific event and find a way forward. That's going to be a supreme challenge in this country, constructed on a foundation of violence. My final reason for not being surprised is I've been writing about this issue for several years. On October 14, 2020, I wrote an article titled, Polls Indicate Americans Fear a Civil War. Americans are stockpiling food and guns. I also discussed the January 6th Capitol riot, which resulted in 5 deaths. It was a major step towards civil unrest, but the leader who incited the protest wasn't quite ready to march on Munich, referring here to Adolf Hitler's and his party's march on Munich in 1923. Now, Donald Trump has near martyr status. I mean, you could even say it's messianic, the amount of popularity surrounding him, surviving this shooting, which a lot of people say was divinely ordered. What comes next? Experts are concerned about 2 possibilities. One, copycats. That is, somebody who would try to continue what Crooks started. And 2, those who might seek revenge. In other words, people may start blaming some of the people who have, said things about Trump or opposed to Trump. And they may seek revenge against those particular people or people they just generally consider to be anti-Trump. The history of the American empire suggests more violence. Can that mold be broken? So those were some of my initial thoughts on July the 15th, when I wrote this article. Of course, a lot more information has come out since then. So I just wanted to open up with those thoughts to try to give it some historical context. And now we can go into the other parts of the discussion, Brother Amos.
Well, I want to jump right into it because I want to get your thoughts on this, and then I also want to share some of my thoughts and opinions. Initially, when this happened, there were split reactions that I saw on social media. Of course, you had a lot of people that were coming out and that were saying, pray for Trump. We endorse Trump as president. Even saying ridiculous things like God save Donald Trump. It's amazing to me how people always think that there's some type of divine intervention when these things happen. But where was this divine intervention when Trump assassinated General Soleimani? Or when he dropped bombs in Somalia? So the amount of people that Donald Trump has personally killed, but he gets this divine intervention from this Jesus or this God that everybody believes exists to save a white man like Donald Trump from losing his life.
Hmm.
And where was this God when the guy who was behind him in the audience got killed?
Hmm.
So, that was kind of, hilarious to see people reacting like that. But some other reactions that I saw, and this came from a lot of black people, was that they felt that it was staged. That was the initial reaction from a lot of people. Um, and it's interesting because, even some people in my family felt that it was staged. And when you share information with people and they have a hard time believing what they would call a conspiracy theory, that could be anything related to the pandemic, that could be anything related to religion, that could be anything related to 9/11, whatever you want to say is a conspiracy theory. There's a lot of people out there who will believe hook, line, and sinker everything that the mainstream media reports. But in this situation, all of a sudden now these people are private eye detectives and they're
Hmm.
willing to say they don't believe that this was real. So I thought that too was also very funny. I even saw, different celebrities like DL Hughley putting up all of these different posts about the shooting. He even said something to the effect of Donald Trump didn't get hit with the bullet. He got hit with glass from the teleprompter, which was later also proven to be false. So when you're rushing to release these type of statements, um, you have to make sure that what you're releasing has at least been thoroughly checked, cross-referenced to some degree, and verify your sources to make sure that they're reliable. So, Baba Makaru, I want to get your thoughts on this, your initial reaction, and what you saw as far as reactions from other people. That could be friends, that could be people online. What was the initial reaction that you saw when this initially happened?
Well, the initial reaction that I saw on Facebook from the various sites that I look at, which are primarily African oriented or Black information sites. Some of these are scholars. Was the staged the staged event scenario that primarily dominated. I I thought that the people. I thought there was relative restraint in terms of a lot of the commentary, given how Donald Trump is viewed by a lot of people, in the African American community or in the African world. Um, but yeah, that was the first thing I saw was the stage thing, and my response to them was that staged by who? They were implying that it was staged by Trump to help him get elected. They said that when when the Secret Service got him up, there was no blood on his hand, and you know why isn't his ear blown off? All sorts of things like that.
I even heard
And
some people say that he put ketchup or
catch
blood.
up.
Yeah.
I saw the catch up thing. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these entertainers like DL Hughley and they don't care about doing cross referencing or any type of historical analysis or anything. They just want a lot of attention for the most part. Um,
Mhm.
and so my question, which no one answered, and I have a habit of asking the same question over several different sites just to see, okay, challenge me on what I'm saying. I'm saying, so if you say it's staged by who? I say it would suggest at a bare minimum that the deep state, because he was protected by a Secret Service team. Apparently, it wasn't his primary Secret Service team. I mean, this information is coming so fast and furious. You have to really take your time and see. But he was protected. He was under the protection of a Secret Service team, and the Secret Service is part of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Okay, so so those are organizations, for example, DHS, CIA, FBI, NSA, NSC. These are organizations that we generally call the deep state. And so my question to them was this: since when did the deep state switch their allegiance from Obama, Clinton, and Biden to Trump? Because if it was staged, the deep state would have to be involved. So when somebody give me some compelling information that the deep state has switched their allegiance, that now they want, Donald Trump to be elected. And of course, all I got in response was crickets. So, I think the whole the stage scenario is just is what I would just classify as wild speculation, and people just saying things off the top of their head. With in the Hosea, there's a statement. I can't remember which one of the Sabars makes this statement, but it said there there's none quick of speech who are free of empty words.
Mm.
And so that's what you get here. You get quick speech and empty words. In other words, it has no foundation in logic or evidence or anything. It's just hasty speech and empty words. And so, that's how I felt about that. Um, I didn't see the divine intervention scenario to maybe a day, or it may have been the next day. It may have been on Sunday. I started seeing the divine intervention thing, and of course, people use God for whatever fits their particular narrative or their agenda, and so God gets used for everything, right? I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is, but obviously, when you talk religion in this context, you're talking about a subject that's void of critical thinking. So, it has to be dismissed in terms of having any kind of a foundation in truth or logic. But what it does is it does create this sort of messianic aura around a person. They often say, for example, that people like, for example, one demonic people, for example, like Adolf Hitler. He had sort of a messianic appeal to the highly cultured German people and turned them into savages. So um so that would be a factor that would be beneficial to him, um you know to the extent that he does have a solid base among the Christian Zionists or the evangelicals and others.
Well, the reason why I didn't really buy the staged theory for his popularity is because he already has all of the momentum, and he was carrying the momentum into this rally just from the previous week with the Supreme Court's immunity decision.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a guy who's leading in the polls, who's carrying the momentum of the race, a deteriorating opponent in Joe Biden, who is becoming more and more uh, senile by the day. There's no reason for someone to stage a shooting to increase their popularity.
Exactly.
And then, secondly, uh, just the day of the events that took place, or the day of the event that took place, we're seeing all this video being released on X, and I think X is one of the fastest ways to get information, just because how fast people can share information. I prefer using X over. I'm not on any other social media platforms other than X and uh, what we put out on YouTube is primarily because on these other social media platforms, you have to give up so much of yourself to these people in order to be able to engage in filtered information.
Mm.
But on platforms like X, you can see what's trending as soon as it happens. So you start down a rabbit hole and you have access to all of these videos and pictures and stuff like that. So as I'm seeing this stuff come out and I'm seeing, people posting second angles, um, people posting videos of the shooter dead, information coming out about the guy who died behind Donald Trump, where the bullet missed or whatever bullet missed him and then got to this guy. This guy's dead. So we know that it's not staged. Staged means that there are actors
Mm.
involved. And if it was staged, potentially these bullets wouldn't have been real. Um, Now, was it an inside job? I would say there's more evidence leaning to that there was some type of inside job that maybe involved the government in this assassination attempt, specifically when you look at how inadequate his security detail, which is a secret service, which is supposed to be the highest security detail in the land, that made these type of elementary rookie mistakes. You don't make these type of mistakes without there being an orchestrated direction or directive being given from leading authorities who have this plan in place. And we heard a lot of details, which a lot of people are probably already familiar with since this information has come out now, that stated things happening that just did not make sense. Here you have a guy a 20-year-old guy who is only 130 to 150 yards away from the former president of the United States on a rooftop. We're talking about two or three short buildings that are in the same vicinity that are easy to clear. That's not even a far off perimeter. So you mean to tell me you don't even have enough resources to have one police officer on top of each building? Doesn't make any sense. When you have counter snipers who are looking in that direction and who see this guy on top of a roof, you mean to tell me that there was not a call put in to say we need to get Donald Trump off the stage until we figure out who this guy is? Then we get reports of a police officer supposedly climbing up the ladder and looking at this guy, and this guy pointing his gun, and the police officer falling back off the ladder, seeing this guy with a gun, and the guy was still able to turn around and get his shots off. Now, the police that I know, when they see a gun, number one, most police officers, if someone is telling you that there's a guy on the roof, most police officers are already climbing the ladder with the gun in their hand.
Mm.
They've already drawn their weapon. You see how quick they pull their weapon when they think a black person has a gun?
Tamir Rice.
So, it makes no sense to me why you have all of these civilians on the ground who are recording this guy crawling on the roof, screaming, there's a guy on the roof, there's a guy on the roof, there's a guy on the roof. And you mean to tell me that the Secret Service and the police can't see this before it happens?
Yeah,
It seems to me that someone had some instructions that they were given to follow. And of course, it's hard to ever factually state this because they'll bury this evidence so that no one will ever find it. And if there are any documents on it, they'll be redacted so that you can never really know the true details. But when we look at how these assassination plots that are planned like this usually work, the shooters that they get oftentimes never make it out alive, even though they think that they're a part of this big scheme where they're going to have something promised to their families or something promised to them. They don't get those instructions that are given to the other person that's meant to take them out after they complete the mission. So if there's a tiered level of instruction taking place, you have it coming down from the top down, and that shooter may be, the last link, and they have to make sure that they close all loose ends. So, you notice that as soon as he took his shot, he got shot. Now, if they were able to get their eyes on him that quick and locate a shooter, think about this. If he shot and they didn't know where he was shooting from, and this was authentic, it would have taken them a few seconds to look around and locate this guy and then take him down. They already had him in sight on target and waited for him to pull the trigger and then shot him down. So they were assuming that he was going to actually hit Trump and Trump was going to die and mission would be complete.
Yeah, I mean, it's most that I've listened to a lot of quote unquote experts, and most of them are torn between incredible incompetence or some type of conspiracy. I mean, that's what I'm getting from a lot of experts. They're saying that it was actually a plot by the deep state, or it was in unbelievable incompetence when you consider all the things. Just a few things, because personally I have studied the assassination of John F. Kennedy, November 22nd, 1963, and the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. on April 4th, 1968, more than the others. I am convinced that the accused assassins in both of those cases, Lee Harvey Oswald and James Earl Ray, were patsies. They were the people who were set up, who were designed to either be arrested and killed in the case of Oswald, or arrested and convicted and died in prison like James Earl Ray. Now, I don't know if 20-year-old Thomas Crooks fits into that category. So far, they have not discovered anything that gives them any indication as to why this apparently highly intelligent 20-year-old, he was regarded as one of the smartest students in his class at the high school that he went to, based on some of the interviews that I've seen. But he had a job as a nursing assistant or a dietary assistant at a nursing home. But he could be the type of person that they would use for something like this if this is in fact an operation by the deep state. But let me just deal with what appears to be incredible incompetence. As Brother Amos said, it just seems to me to be security 101 for a former president who is also the leading contender to be the next president of the United States. That they were first of all, I think the Trump campaign announced this rally on July the 3rd. And the way these things work is that a security team from the Secret Service, maybe some other agencies may be involved, but primarily the Secret Service will go out and do some advanced work. Now, this is not, say, like setting up in a stadium, for example, or indoor or outdoor arena. You know, there were no permanent fixtures there other than the buildings, and so the stage and all of this stuff had to be set up. And so they had to know, for example, where the stage would be, where bleachers would be set up for the audience, and so then they will do a complete 360. Now, this building, which was 130, 150 yards away, had to stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, to the most elementary. I mean, to a boy scout or a Cub Scout, and 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 nobody. The, the person in charge of security for the Secret Service never considered, okay, let's say that they're complaining about they didn't have enough manpower, but you have assistance from state police, you have local police, local sheriffs. I mean, this is a former president who's the leading candidate to be president, and he was obviously in a user friendly environment. So there was no coordinate. Apparently, there's supposed to be like a central command and control center where everybody that's part of the security, whatever they are, wherever they are, whatever they are, well, not just Secret Service, but the sheriffs or deputy sheriffs or whoever, everybody has a central phone number to call to this command and control center. There's no evidence that they had that. So number one, they didn't place anybody on a building that had a clear line of sight to where Donald Trump will be speaking. That is highly suspicious. I mean, now this could be. I mean, when you look at these two candidates, they are symbolic, in my opinion, of the downward spiral of the American empire. And so this incompetence, this plain and simply could be part of this is just the general downward spiral of the American empire. That's just it's hard to believe this. Would you say that's just the best that they can do, or they're just so lackadaisical or whatever? That's why the conspiracy people were saying there's no way that it could happen without, you just, they can't be that incompetent, but they could be. Okay.
I remember when Obama came to Charlotte. This might have been 2000, maybe 2014, and they shut down 77. They shut down Billy Graham, completely shut down. Like people could not even drive on these on highways and roads.
Yeah,
until this guy drove back. Until they drove him back to the airport to fly out.
that's right.
So these people, the Secret Service, they take security seriously. So you mean to tell me you shut down almost a major highway in a city, and then a major secondary back highway, or whatever you want to call it, to get to the airport, but you don't clear buildings that are 130 yards away from a former president and a political candidate? I'm sorry, that's not. No one can tell me that that's just somebody dropping the ball.
Yeah, it becomes incredibly difficult to believe that, but in my opinion, because this, in my opinion, is symbolic of the collapse of the late stage of the American empire. And so let me just say a couple of things regarding the alleged sniper Thomas Crooks, the 20-year-old. So within leading up to the event, last Saturday, Crooks purchased a ladder from a Home Depot. He bought 50 rounds of ammunition for this was a NATO 5.56 rounds of ammunition. Apparently, someone has determined that he used a 5.56 on an AR platform, and he went to the local gun range where he apparently shoots on a regular basis. Now, I don't know what the laws are in Pennsylvania regarding the purchase. I'm assuming it's 21, but they are selling this guy, but it may not be now because I don't know. I didn't do that research. They're selling this guy ammunition, and this guy is allowed. He's going to this range by himself. Now, I've been in ranges where I have seen people with their 12, 13-year-old sons and daughters firing handguns, and that is allowed. These kids learn to shoot at a very early age. Apparently, Crooks they had a rifle team in his high school. He wasn't a good enough shot when he tried out, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't a good shot. It just could mean that there were a whole lot of good shooters on the team, but apparently he's had a lot of time to do some kind of practice. People say he was a bad shot. I don't think he was a bad shot at all. I mean, considering, how, what happened leading up to the shots. And so he was doing some preparation. He also had to do some advanced scouting. Okay, he had to know, for example, that the particular building had a direct sight to where the stage would be, where Donald Trump would be speaking. Okay, how could he know that? I'm the stage. I don't know when they set the stage up, but it may have been a couple of days before. But so he had to do that. Okay, now did he take the ladder over there and put it in a position where he wasn't seen carrying the ladder, so the ladder had to be there. This guy had to have some help.
Right.
I don't see. Now he has covered his footprint like a
I believe the ladder and the gun. I believe the gun was already on the roof, waiting for him. I believe the ladder was already lined up, and all he had to do is walk up and climb up the ladder and put himself in position.
How did he know? Now he was seen with a rangefinder, right? I play golf occasionally, and they have these rangefinders that say, you're 150 yards from the pin or whatever. The actions of the police officers, the people on the ground who were filming this guy, crawling on the roof, even let's say if he was wearing some kind of camo or whatever he was wearing, had a star or something on his shirt. Even if somebody thought he may have been law enforcement when he was walking around or associated with law enforcement, when he's crawling on the roof, that's a dead giveaway. And people are telling the police this. So now, according to one of the, it might have been the chief or whoever, said that they went to the lowest part of the building, and one officer helped to hoist another officer up. Apparently, the other officer was standing on his shoulders and trying to climb up. This sounds so incredible. And then the guy turned around and points his gun at him. You shoot Tamir Rice within 2 seconds. They just shot a sister who called the police in Illinois. She said there was an intruder there. The police shot her in the head and killed her, 36-year-old. Just like Tatiana Jefferson in Houston. So quick to fire. Mm-hmm. And here you got a guy on the roof, and you all are, is this like Ringling Brothers? Y'all standing on shoulders? And why aren't you coming up there at an angle or something, or kind of like with your gun already drawn? If the guy even if that officer starts firing warning shots, then that distracts the guy that's on the roof. This guy was able to point his rifle, and the cops, evaded. I mean, just like the officers down there in Uvalde, Texas, didn't even have the courage to go in confront a guy that was killing children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if the guy, if he fires a even if he gets back down on the ground and starts firing shots, uh, you got time, because you have some time perhaps to get Trump off the stage, and maybe the other people are not killed. And so,
But even to that point, if an officer receives a report there's a guy on the roof, you mean to tell me this officer walked over to the building by himself, didn't radio it in, didn't have any backup? That was stupid on his part to go to the roof by himself. If people can from the ground can take their cell phone and see this guy on the roof, it's not enough police officers around to have their guns drawn on the guy from the ground
yeah,
at the
they
same
they,
angle that people were shooting this on their cell phone.
they could have been shooting from the ground. Apparently, according to the sheriff, I think I might have to sneeze. Um, the chief, two officers went, and one helped to hoist one of the officers up there. But apparently, this guy was not prepared.
Hold on. So if he hoisted him, I thought he fell off the ladder. Why would he have
See,
to?
you got different stories.
Man,
The story I heard was the story I heard was that this guy said that one officer helped the other officer to get up, and that officer, got a peek at him, and he pointed a gun at him, and then that officer fell back down to the ground. That's what I heard today. Now, there's so many different stories coming out, but it was it was either the sheriff or the chief of police or somebody authorized to make that statement, because the director of the Secret Service is trying to blame police officers. He said there were police officers in the building. They were inside the building when the guy was on the roof.
mm.
Now, I don't know what kind of roof this is. They couldn't hear the guy crawling or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's virtually unbelievable. But my point is regarding the logistics, just the logistics. It appears to me that he had to have some kind of help. Now, it's possible that he did all of this by himself. Took the ladder out there, placed the gun. Some people claim they saw him with a gun. Some say he didn't have one. But this is it's very difficult to believe, and
To me, I mean, it seems like
there's a whole lot of, I think, information that gives credence, to the deep state conspiracy theory, or somebody, not necessarily wouldn't necessarily have to be the deep state. All of the deep state's rogue agents of it would certainly have to seem to be involved, because the level of incompetence and failure to act is just unbelievable.
yeah. To me,
Unbelievable.
to me, it seems like the way the CIA or Mossad would implement this type of strategy. Let's pick somebody that's an easy throwaway that won't have anything that people can trace back to his personality, who he was. Um, so you see this guy um, miss because at the second he shot, Donald Trump turned his head
Turn his head to point to a chart.
and the bullet barely missed the right side of his brain. So he would have been dead. And when I looked at the reactions coming from the politicians, so you got a lot of politicians on the Democratic side who are saying, there's no place for this type of violence and all this stuff, all this stuff. And so Biden, he released his statement. Barack Obama released a statement. Um, but I noticed that the um, the Clintons, Bill Clinton, released a statement on Instagram on behalf of him and Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton did not release a statement at all. And we know Hillary Clinton has a past of playing a role in killing or assassinating a lot of people.
Well, they all do.
All of her tweets, all of her past, if you go look at her Twitter feed, her past 5 or 6 tweets all deal with how terrible of a candidate Donald Trump is. And she started right back up today, tweeting about Donald Trump and his association with Project 2025. Never released a official statement on her Twitter feed about Donald Trump's assassination attempt or anything, which leads me really to believe from a body language standpoint that she might have had some intel on this happening. And
Well,
that's why, that's just a guess, but we know Hillary Clinton does have a history of being involved with the CIA, of course, from her political background. And people would consider her what they would call the deep state or the shadow government, the powerful people who have control over or plays a hand in controlling the government.
yeah. Just on that point, I mean, all of this in Dr. Marimbani's book Urugu, she has a section called "Hypocrisy as a Way of Life," and hypocrisy is a way of life for all American politicians. This is just a way of life. I mean, Dr. Ani also talks about what she calls the rhetorical ethic. In the rhetorical ethic, words spoken by a powerful person that are purely intended for an audience, but they are words that the politician doesn't believe, and all of the politician's actions, defy what the person is saying. Mm-hmm. And that's why I have a statement that says American politics is the science of deception. Mm-hmm. They make you believe something that's simply not real. And when one of the 10 virtues of the educational system in ancient Kemet, a student had to be able to distinguish between the real and the unreal. And right now, people can't distinguish between that because there's so much confusion. But just on this violence point, I mean, Lancet, which is a British medical journal, just released a statement 2 weeks ago that estimated the death toll in Gaza at 186,000. And it not just people that were killed, from all these, the 14,000 bombs or better, that the 2,000-pound bombs, 500-pound bombs, the Hellfire missiles, and all of the other weapons and bombs and artillery shells that the Biden administration has sent over there that has killed. I mean, I'm asking in article, how many children? 75,000, 80, 90, 100,000. And here's a fool talking about there's no place for violence. And this guy is one of the most violent people in history. And the same goes for all of them, right? I mean, you documented there, Trump, his airstrikes on Syria after there was a false flag about the Assad regime using chemical weapons. Trump dropped more bombs in 1 year on Somalia than Obama and Bush dropped between 2007 and Obama's last day in office, which was in January of 2017. Trump dropped more bombs on Somalia, Biden is bombed. Bush bombed Somalia. Obama bombed Somalia. Trump bombed Somalia more than all of them. And then now Biden is bombing Somalia. These people are talking about they're opposed to violence. I mean, the cold-blooded killing of General Soleimani. I mean, Obama. The 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 overthrow of the legitimate government of Libya and the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi. I mean, these people's hands are soaked with blood, and they're talking about there's no place for violence. But the reason why I wrote the article, of course, we're political independents. We don't support either wing of the corrupt two-party system. We think both of these parties need to go the way of the Whigs and be replaced by something that bends towards justice, which is actually how the Republican Party started, oppose the chattel slavery, in favor of reparations for African people, and attempt to bend towards justice with all of the laws and the amendments to the Constitution that were engineered by the radical Republicans, which are not to be confused with the current iteration, which is just another version. They have their own particular perspective of how the American empire should operate. So it's just absolute total hypocrisy. Okay, I mean, my perspective on political violence, it doesn't necessarily involve politicians, because I've seen our leaders who were fighting for our rights, like Omar Wally, Malcolm X, right, Martin Luther King, Bunchy Carter, Fred Hampton, killed. Okay, and a lot of times they use race traitors, to carry it out. These people bomb churches and kill little girls, right? They killed 6 black children in Birmingham, in September 1963. So, man, get out of here with this talking about, here's Biden play the crime bill thing, and he's bragging about all of the new death penalties. The Biden crime bill adds 50 new death penalties. It might be 50 or 60. I can't remember the exact number now. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Well, at least Hillary Clinton kept it real. She's a gangster because she
Oh,
didn't
she
say
is.
anything.
Yeah.
But her mind, she was like, I'm not about to sit up here and be fake and act like I didn't want that bullet to hit.
Yeah. And then you have that. And then you have, because rather than, the people to do these psychological profiles, they said there might be a copycat that tries to pick up where, crooks failed. But I think the more likely response would be people seeking revenge. Now, quite frankly, Trump is in a position where he doesn't even need that right now.
I think Donald Trump selecting J.D. Vance was him pretty much signing his life away, because he selected a replacement that will allow them to really take him out, and they would love to replace him with a president like Vance for the next 8 years, who's a neocon that they can control. And with them releasing this Iran uh, conspiracy about Iran trying to assassinate Trump, all it's going to do is give the deep state a more sophisticated way to take him out now. So if he gets hit with a drone strike or something like that, then they'll be able to say, oh, it was Iran that did it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Biden administration choosing to play the Iran card, they said that they got the National Security Council, the NSC, got this information, credible they call it information, that Iran was planning to assassinate Trump as revenge for the killing of Soleimani in 2020. So they're gonna wait 4 years.
Right.
They're gonna wait 4 years, and then they're gonna try to get revenge. No, come on, man. I mean, so, but this was the part of the story that to me just made them look even more ridiculous. They said they beefed up security. They increased Trump's security because of the plot from Iran. And then they allowed this to happen. They allowed crooks to get on the roof and miss him just
So
by,
this was before. So they increased the security before the crook
yeah,
situation.
yes. That
Wow.
it made them look absolutely ridiculous. So they decided, I don't know who's running the show up there, and in the Biden, circus. I don't know who's running the show, but they released the information saying that they had gotten in 2 weeks ago or whatever, that that the Iranians had sent someone over here to take Trump out, and they beefed up security. Where was this beefed up security when Crooks was crawling on the roof? What are they calling beefed up security? They make themselves just look ridiculous. Let me just say one other thing here, though. Let me say one other thing. So the AR platform, assault rifle that Crooks used belonged to his father. According to a report I saw today, his father owns about 20 guns. The particular assault rifle that Crooks used is manufactured by a company in Summerville, South Carolina. Last year, Donald Trump visited that very factory and was seen, I think, handling some of the assault rifles that they manufacture at this plant. How about that for a coincidence? Trump was in that factory handling, weapons or whatever, viewing weapons, and the rifle that the guy who tried to kill him used came from the very same factory in Summerville, South Carolina. I mean, some of this stuff is almost you couldn't hardly make it up. I mean, if you were gonna make the Equalizer Part 4, you couldn't
It
hardly
does
make.
feel like it feels like we're living in a movie, and I will say that one day, whoever makes the Donald Trump movie is going to be a hell of a movie based on this guy's life. But leave your comments down in the comment section. Subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, brothers and sisters, a BB for Hodier.
Baby for Hodier.